Welcome to Two Souls Podcast, a podcast to shift, impact, empower, and disrupt your consciousness, ultimately allowing you to thrive on this human journey. Now, here are your hosts, Amber Meganhauser and Angela Blaha. Hey, Amber, how are you today?
I am fantastic. How about you?
Great. What are we chatting about today?
Today I was thinking we would talk about transformation. What are some of the easiest ways to aid in a person's transformation when learning about their soul self?
Ooh, a transformation. Well, transformation is like a dramatic change in how we be in this world. So if we're going to transform, the number one thing to do is to be ready to transform. Like we all think we want to transform, but are we ready to do the work to transform? Because it's not all easy work when we transform.
So very true.
So some of the easiest ways that I know to transform is to become aware. That's the first step I'm going to say, is to become aware of what it is that you want to change in your life, right? If you're wanting to understand your soul self more, like what is it that you want to understand? Or what is it that you want to learn about the soul self? How present do you want it to be? Like that should be part of the awareness component, is, kind of those what and how, why kind of questions. We should be sort of mulling them over, trying to understand like what it is that you're really seeking. So, Amber, when you're thinking about your own soul self, what is it that you seek to know about your soul self?
I think one of my biggest things is clarity. We all have so much going on in our minds between work, kids, home, life, pets, vacation, whatever it is. I think that we have so much going on in the mind that we feel, in the beginning for me, it was clarity. I felt like I was just being pulled in a million different directions. And I was like, who the heck is this person?
And why am I here? Those are usually the questions. Who am I and why am I here?
Yeah. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? Am I doing the things to the best of my abilities? Like, who really am I? Because I feel like some of the things that surround us create who we are. If we live in the country, we like the wilderness. If, like just simple things. If the person we're with does a lot of exercise, it kind of draws you more towards exercise. So you feel like the job you have it kind of makes you who you are. Where if you had an accounting job versus a nursing job, you're two different peoples on two different levels. And like, how do we really know who we are as our own individual self?
Yeah, that's a big, big question. And transformation is literally the only way to do that. First of all, I think the awareness component is huge. Being aware that you're not who you are when you're around other people is probably the biggest shift that we can make within ourselves, is to acknowledge, like it's an acknowledgement component, right? To who you are, and being really truthful and super honest with yourself. If you're one person who transforms and becomes the other person, like that should be a huge awareness to you that, that you're really not living your own true self. You're living somebody else's life.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Where, yeah, even like I said, like the whole gym thing, if you start dating a guy that you goes to the gym all the time and all of a sudden you're like a gym freak, is that really you or is that really him?
Right. Well, it's the other person until you figure out that it's really not you. Until that awareness component comes in and you begin to be miserable. Like your body hurts and your thoughts change because they become more like someone else. Your emotions are generally in a roller coaster. Like those are the signs that say something is off here. Like I'm not really on track with who I came here to be.
Yeah. And actually, like right now too, I know a lot of people switching jobs, and sometimes even our jobs define who we are. When you don't have that specific job anymore, it's like, who am I? Who am I without that job? Who am I without that person? Who are you by yourself? How can I transform the program person I've been for the last 15 years to who I really am, like deep down in my soul?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you have to first have an awareness that something's not right here, that you're really not living your purposeful life. Then the next thing to do is to make some decisions. Like, what is it that you really want to learn about yourself? Like, if you're really creative and you've been stifling that for a long time, start there, right? Like, start allowing yourself to be creative again. It'll open up yourself to sort of not only be creative, but it'll help you move into your own consciousness where you can see yourself, where you can start to say, oh, I really enjoy this. This really brings me a lot of joy and peace, right? Joy, peace, bliss. Those are the things those are the clues that align you into your soul self. When you start down that path, those are the only things that matter to you. So, awareness, decisions, making a decision about who you want to become. You have to move from the passenger seat into the driver's seat. There's no ways around it. You have to become the driver of who you are. You have to start looking at what your wants, needs, and desires are, and then start fulfilling them. Then the next
That
thing,
is one thing I learned.
yeah,
One thing I learned, I took Angela has this amazing class called Seek, and that was one of the things that I figured out was, we go through these things in our lives that transform us into becoming who we want to be, whether it's changing jobs or whatever it is. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm so sick of sitting in the back seat of this car. I'm ready to drive my own car now.
yeah,
And then
that's huge.
it just makes it, yes, like when I really realized that, I was like, why am I letting other people drive me around?
Exactly. Why aren't I in my
Wait,
power? Because this is really boring back here.
yes. When we are in control of our own selves and we drive our own car and we push forward, you literally transform yourself without you work on it, but it transforms into exactly who you want to be because everything in your life goes from the boring back seat to the force pulling you forward.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Then the third thing is to be dedicated. And I feel like this is dedicated to the self and dedicated, excuse me, to the things that you want, dream, and desire. And I think this is where we falter as a human race because things start to get a little hectic here. They start to get a little bit harder. We have to really be focused and have extreme clarity about what we want. And that decision that you made prior to this stage of the game, like you have to stay concrete in that decision. And there's a momentum that happens. Like when we make the decision, we're filled with momentum, right? And then time goes on and time goes on, and we're still dedicated, and if we're actually building energy within ourselves and, working the process, then the momentum continues. But when we have a bad day or an off moment, or someone comes into our life and tries to influence us, or we take a step back instead of a step forward, we as a human race have a tendency to go down the rabbit hole, like literally falter, take 2 steps back, or sometimes 10 steps back, versus taking small steps forward. So this stage, this level of where the dedication to the self and being really determined that this is who you want to be in this moment. We're not talking about in the future or, in the past. We're talking about in this moment. So you have to really be living a very conscious, in this moment kind of a lifestyle. Then that third level of dedication, we have a tendency to give up. Right? We have a tendency to say to ourselves, because we're looking for excuses, the mind's always looking for excuses. So we have a tendency to give up in this stage and not move into the fourth stage, which is creation. Like you're creating your life. You're always in that driver's seat. So in this third sort of stage, we're moving from the driver's seat to the back seat, to the driver's seat to the back seat. And it gets really frustrating here in this stage, which is really where we should be reaching out, hiring a mentor, finding our tribe, finding those people who are like-hearted, that really get you and understand you and help you, support you, right? But most of the time we just step back and then we make a different decision, and we just keep creating those loops and those patterns. And we never really get out of those loops and patterns. We may change the picture, right? The picture might change a little bit, but the pattern is always going to be the same. So it's really that third stage that is crucial.
Because we're back and forth and back and forth, and our mind can only go by the past. So figuring out the steps you need to do going forward, that is where you kind of get stuck.
Yes. Yeah. Which is why, classes like Seek, any of the retreats that I have, like they catapult you forward so that transformation process is really simple and easy. There's generally no going back once you transform, unless you decide that you don't like what you transformed into, and then you fall back into the old patterns. But it's that third stage of transformation that really needs the focus and the energy and your determination to succeed about who you really are, right? About understanding that soul self and moving that soul self more into the human, and allowing it to take control and be in control of your life versus, the ego being in control of the life.
I completely understand that, where, one of my sayings is you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. If you want change in your life and you want to transform your life, you have to look at everything that is around you and change what you're doing. You have to be dedicated to wanting to transform and know who you are and where you want to go. You can't keep hanging out with the same friends. You can't keep going to the same places. You can't keep doing the same things you're doing. You have to, like you said, you have to hang out with like-minded people. You have to hang out and you have to do this things that you want to do and be around the people you want to be around in order to become who you want to become. You can't have the same thing in the past and expect to be somebody totally opposite in the future if you're doing the same thing every day.
Exactly. It doesn't work. You're just the repeating pattern.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing that you're trying to get away from, you just are constantly like in that same energy field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
So
does,
the
it
process
takes,
is,
step number one is actually the biggest step, because once you create that awareness and that once your awareness is there, you can't unsee it, you can't unknow it, you can't unfeel it. It just forces you through the steps, and you just are transforming on your own, sometimes without even realizing it.
yeah, the process is really very simple. It's awareness, decision, dedication, and then creation. So it's just a 4-step process. It's how you work through the process of transformation. And are you dedicated enough to actually make it happen? Like, we as a human race, we aren't very responsible for ourselves. We want somebody else to be responsible for us. That way we can blame them or guilt them or shame them when we falter. See, I
Yeah.
told you it didn't work. Right? And we don't want to,
Yeah.
like we personally, we don't want to have to be responsible for that. So, we have a tendency to, like, that's where the real truth of who we are lies, is in our own responsibility to the soul self. But when we are,
Yeah.
you know, following or being in competition with someone else, you're just living in that ego energy.
That dang ego, always slipping in there.
Yeah, well, it has a purpose here. It helps us survive, right? Like, the ego really helps us survive,
Yeah,
but we're not really in
it
survival
does.
energy any longer. We're in creation energy. And, we really need to make the transition from survival to thriving and creating our life. And, you know, the process is really simple, which is probably why we overlook it. And we don't really want to be responsible.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to just blame somebody else than do the work and figure out who we want to be. But
Well,
it's
we can
so
seek,
rewarding in the end when you actually do the work.
yes, we can seek all these things in our life, right? Like, we are constantly in search and seek mode for something different, something better, however it's going to work. And we say to ourselves, we really want to change, we really want to be different, we really want this, that, and the other thing. But how many of us are really willing to do the work to make it happen? And it's not
Yeah.
really work. It's just, you have to, like, be dedicated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like physical work, it's literally just taking that time for yourself
Hmm.
and listening, knowing, and trusting that you are everything that you want to be.
Exactly. There's a lot of talk in the world about, creating a new world and all these kinds of things, but the real creation needs to happen within you. We cannot create a new world or, um, see a different world unless we're willing to make that transformation from the ego self to the soul self. And that's literally the shift in consciousness that we're working through.
Hmm. Yeah.
So transformation really isn't that hard. It really isn't that hard. We need to make sure that that's
No,
actually what we want.
it's actually as easy or as hard as you make it.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be willing to, change. That's the one thing about transformation that,
Yeah,
is you have to be willing to change. You have to change your thoughts.
for
You have
sure.
to change the things that you believe in. You have to change your emotions. You have to be in control of all the decisions that you make. You have to be responsible. Those are the things that are probably hard and that create most fear in us because, as a human being, we don't like change. It creates a lot of fear because it creates an
Yeah.
unknown.
Yep. As I was going to say, it's the unknown that scares everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why people just stay where they are, because it's the fear of going forward. There's so much fear about success, there's a fear about change, fear about everything. So it's just easier to stay where they are. But when you actually do take the steps to start transforming your life, you'll never regret it. It's the biggest, best reward you could ever have in life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's less scary to stay in the patterns because we all know the patterns. We all know our failures. We know them by heart, for Pete's sakes. We
Yeah.
repeat them over and over and over, but it's
Yeah.
scary. It's scary sometimes to change those.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we're not afraid of doing the personal work that it takes to transform our lives, it's it's most often with people, with my clients and everything, like it's most often safer and less scary to just stay in the pattern, even though they're freaking miserable and hate their life.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. And I would recommend to anybody, take the change. You'll never regret it. And as far as like, if you need some kind of guidance too on, you don't know where to go, like how do I even begin to transform myself? Like what can I do? I know we gave them the 4 steps, but if you do want a little more guidance, I took Angela's Seek class, and I am telling you all, it is one of the best, most rewarding classes I have ever took, and it helped me see so much. I was stuck. I was just like stuck in life, sitting in the back seat, and I was so sick of being there. And Seek totally, completely just opened me back up and seeing so many possibilities about what I want out of life, who I want to be, where I want to go. And I mean, the possibilities are endless. And so, yeah, if anybody wants to take Angela's Seek class, I'm telling you, reach out to her. It is one of the best, most rewarding classes I've ever took. And I'm a person that likes taking classes. So I'm telling you, this is where it's at. It's awesome. And Angela, where can they find that information if they are interested in possibly taking a C class?
Yeah, so you can find it on my website. It's angelablaha.com, or you can just email me at angelablaha005@gmail.com. Or I'm on Facebook, all the social medias. So, yeah. And Amber even signed up for Seek too, which is even more phenomenal than the first one. I just love watching
Yes, it
people
is.
transform. I love it because it's just so like there's nothing more important in life, as far as I can tell, than to be on purpose and feel like you are totally in control of who you are. Like that's, I think, the whole purpose of being a human being. Because we live in a very chaotic and chaos world. And, when we have rampant thoughts and rampant emotions, like we are in the chaos. But when you can make that transformation into your life and you really align with your soul self and you live on purpose, you feel so fulfilled and joyed and peaceful and full of bliss.
100% agree. We met, how long ago was it we met? A couple of years ago?
Yep.
And I've taken some other different classes of Angela's, and the things she has done for me, I mean, 2 years ago when we first met to who I am today, I don't even know who that girl was. I mean,
That's
it
a good.
is like that. It's huge, like how much I have transformed from the day we first met to who I am today.
That's because Amber is one of those gladiators who went from surviving to thriving in a very short period of time. And if you want to have if you want to have a chat with Amber, reach out to her and see how she did it, because she's phenomenal at it. Yeah.
It is crazy. It's like once you make your mind up though that you want more for yourself, that that this isn't it for me. Like there's more for me. Like I'm not just your daily accountant. Like I'm so much more than just an accountant. And yeah, once I decided it, there was no stopping me. And it's been the greatest, most phenomenal thing I've ever done. All of it. I mean, every bit of it's a stage you go through, but hands down, Seek, I was like in this lull, I guess, a little bit on my past, I guess. I was in this lull and I reached out to Angela and I'm like, I mean, I haven't taken a class for a little while, but I'm in this funk and I'm going to sign up for Seek. And she was like, okay. And I'm telling you, within like 2 weeks, I called her and I was like, I'm back in the driver's seat. We're good to go now. Like it completely got me back to where I was and out of the lull. And I'm telling you, it's just phenomenal, the change you go through and the intentions you set, that you want more for yourself. You want to just be your true self. You, not the person that other people want you to be, but who you truly, truly want to be. And once you set that intention that that's what you're going to be by the time this class is done, I guarantee you will be driving down the road, looking in the rearview mirror, like waving at that girl sitting in the back seat because she ain't there no more.
Exactly. There is so much power to make that decision, right? We can sit in awareness for years, and sometimes some of us do. But when you make that decision and you're tired of the old being, right? You're tired of the old patterns, and you make that decision, that's where your power is sparked. And it's in those moments that you can do the transformation.
Yeah.
Through the journey, absolutely. It gets a little hairy sometimes, but that's where you need to be reaching out to people and hiring people and, finding your own group of people that can actually support you, because that support through that determination ends up you making the shift into the creator. Yep.
Yes. Super powerful. So awesome.
All right. So the steps are awareness, decision, dedication, creator. Simple, easy steps.
One step at a time, and you'll gain more than you can ever imagine.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us today.
Yes, thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing this space with us. We greatly appreciate all of our listeners. If you have a topic that you would like us to discuss, talk about, please feel free to email me at ambermeg, AMBERMEG2 at iCloud.com. We would love to hear from you and your questions. Until next time, from our souls to yours, have a super fantastic day.